living in a time of profound transformation, and many of us are asking, how do we stay grounded?
Welcome to Devotion in Motion, a podcast where we explore wisdom paths from all kinds of traditions and heart centered ways of being for these transformative times.
Through conversations, teachings, and practices, we'll share ways to stay centered, connected, and in a right relationship with each other.
This is a space rooted in community, a place to come together, to listen deeply, to be inspired, and to remember we are not walking this path alone.
I'm Marlo Naro, the Executive Director for the Center for Sacred Studies,
And I'm Stephanie Eskins Gleason, founder of Vita Anima.
and we're both ministers of walking prayer.
In each episode, we'll bring you voices, stories, and lived wisdom from people who are devoted to walking with presence, purpose, and care through these changing times.
Whether you're just beginning or deepening your path, you are welcome here.
We invite you to come as you are and listen deeply.
Walk with us
We hope you'll follow along with Devotion in Motion and join us as we move through these times.
together.
We live in love. It's the way we live in love.
So, welcome to our first episode of Devotion in Motion. Marlo and I thought we would share a little bit about ourselves and how this podcast was born. So, let me turn it over to you, Marlo.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. I'm so excited to be here on our first ever episode 0. So I'm currently the executive director of CSS, and we are a religious nonprofit organization that's dedicated to sustaining ways of life based on collaboration and reciprocity with the earth and all her beings. And this is a pretty big mission that we have signed up for. It's super beautiful, and we do this in a number of ways. And the first way is really empowering people. So we carry out this part of the mission by our programs. So we have an array of programs, one being our ministry training program. That's a 2-year hybrid program. It's online, virtual, and it's also in person. And throughout this journey, it ends in a ceremonial ordination as a minister of a walking prayer. We also have a Stargate Mystery School, both for adults and for children. And we also have silent retreats that we offer. And a really beautiful Maitri breathwork certification. It's a 2-year program, and in the end, you become a Maitri breathworker. So that's how CSS goes about empowering people. And then we also honor the sacred. And this is another huge part of our mission. We do this by having ceremonies. We have a global prayer line that we offer prayers for the community. Everyone's welcome to this. And then we have, with the ministry program, we have 300 ministers all over the globe. So we're very global. We have community members all over the planet, but we have a center. We are centered in Guerneville, California. That's where our center is. And we have an earth and spirit store that has beautiful offerings and teachings at, and sometimes where we hold our ceremonies. And we also have a mothership program, which is another community-based offering. There's so much. And then also we serve the earth. And, this is a huge part of how we carry forward our mission. And we do this with a lot of collaborations with other organizations and people around the world that are doing heart-centered work and earth-based work for our planet. And we have alliances with different organizations, and also we are fiscal sponsors for a few organizations. So we're doing a lot of good work out there for for Center for Sacred Studies for the world. So yeah.
Yeah, you so much are. And as someone who went through the ministerial training program and the Stargate Mystery School, I can say that it's truly life changing. And in fact, that's how I met Marlo, and she was my mentor in the ministerial training program, and that really changed my life. But before I talk about that, I'd like to ask you a couple more questions, Marlo.
Sure.
How did you end up like on this path?
Yeah, wow. It was a series of wow moments. And definitely unexpected, unexpected and really beautiful all at the same time. And I think the journey began for me back in 2011, and I at the time was an active duty Navy social worker, and I was just about to deploy to Afghanistan. So I was prepping for that, doing all the things I needed to do to leave for 8 months, and I thought I wanted to do something for myself before I left, and I wanted to go on a trip. Decided on Maui. And never been to Hawaii before. And I knew that I wanted to go there and experience Maui and the land and the ocean, but also wanted to do something for myself, for as personal growth wise. So I ended up signing up for this retreat. It was about a week long retreat with, unbeknownst to me at the time, a sister organization with the Center for Sacred Studies. So I was able to experience the beauty of Maui and also meet a lot of other individuals who are walking their paths in a really beautiful way. And I learned a lot. And through that process, on that few days journey, I had a really profound spiritual awakening. And my heart just blew wide open and everything. I just had a lot more information that I was integrating around my path, my individual path. And so when I left Maui and I was doing some integration and I was wanting to stay connected with the people at the retreat, I ended up just friending people on Facebook. And what caught my eye was this flyer for the 13 Indigenous grandmothers and a gathering that they were about to hold. And at the bottom of the flyer, there was the Center for Sacred Studies and their logo. And so at the time, CSS was the fiscal sponsor for the grandmothers. Since then, it's been a while now that they've fully individuated in their own organization. But at the time, they were connected pretty closely with CSS. And so I just kind of followed the breadcrumbs and went to the CSS website, and a video of our vision keeper, Jyoti Ma, was lit up, and I watched it and really called to me in a big way. And so I saw it was all about their ministry training program. So I looked into it a little bit more deeply. It happened to be the closing date for signups was in a couple of days, and I signed up right at the end. And a few days later, I was deploying to Afghanistan. And what a lifesaver for me. I mean, I was able to enter into the spiritual studies and my own personal growth and soul journey process while being deployed. So I was able to do the hybrid virtual and read the books and listen to the teachings while I was deployed as a social worker. So, so from that, I Yeah, I just felt I really made beautiful connections with my minister cohort, and then also I dove into the other programs with CSS. So I basically pretty much every program I have fully dove into with CSS, and then along the years have become a mentor in the programs, and also volunteered, and then was able to step into the global university director position, and now executive director. So pretty new here as the ED, but really excited about what we're doing and what we're bringing.
Can you say a little bit more about the services that you provided in Afghanistan?
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. I was on a Navy mobile care team. So it was a group of just a few of us, there was one other clinical social worker, a psychiatric technician, and then also a research psychologist. And we were there to support mainly the Navy individual augmentees that were deployed there. Um, but also really helped all of like the international forces and NATO forces. So we basically flew around, checked in on the troops, offered a stress resilience training. I personally set up heart math sessions. So this is kind of like a biofeedback technique that helps people um, learn a heart-centered meditation that's really been shown to help with coherence in the heart, and just a really beautiful, amazing tool that can be used. So I was able to basically teach people meditation when we went to these different they're called forward operating bases, so different bases around Afghanistan. And then also just did some focus groups with the troops there to see how they were doing. And we did assessments that we were able to bring information back to their leadership to give them some ideas of how they could help with their general welfare, like meaning things they could do to improve morale, or improve their sleep quality, or improve their stress management techniques and stuff like that. So we're also kind of consulting with leadership. So it was a lot of different components.
I love that. It's so fascinating to me to talk to people that I know through the community and then like find out their stories of what they were doing before, they became ministers of walking prayer and after. But
Right.
thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're welcome, Stephanie. Gosh, well, I want to hear about you and how you came to the Center for Sacred Studies and how your path evolved into Vita Anima.
Oh, sure. So I guess I'll share a little professional context too.
Hmm.
For 30 years, I worked in educational consulting and outreach. I live on the unceded territory of the Piscataway people in Northern Virginia. And so I'm right outside of Washington, D.C., and I worked for the Smithsonian and the World Bank Group and the National Wildlife
Mm.
Federation for a number of years. And my specialty, I guess, as you would put it, was in helping them collaborate with other like-minded organizations to expand education and outreach. And then also, I would work with the usually like PhDs in a narrow field and interview them and try to distill what they knew down into like a 101 level and a
Mm.
201 level, both for educating people inside their organizations and outside. So that was something I did for, I think, a little over 30 years. And then I had this really significant health crisis,
Mm.
which lasted a number of years. And as I was coming out of that, um, I received this. I said a prayer asking for the next step on my journey, now that I was
Mhm.
going to realize I was going to have a journey to walk on.
Hmm.
And I got this email from the Shift Network. I don't remember the topic or the course, but down along the bottom, there were, all these different sponsors. And it just, I just laughed when you told your story because of all the sponsors, I was drawn to that CSS logo. And I clicked on it and I also landed on the video where Jyoti was talking. And I was like, this is it. This is the answer to my prayers and what I've been waiting for. So I joined the program and, obviously met you there and you became my mentor. And for me, it was life changing. So when I came out of the program, I prayed, obviously, like, show me what my ministry is going to be. And I was slowly guided to begin like reducing my professional, educational, and outreach work and beginning to do some teaching around, I guess, what we would call spiritual topics. And uh, there were a number of things that happened right around that time period that I think contributed to me bringing forth Vita Anima. Um, one of them is I went on this amazing tour of sacred sites in Europe just before the summer solstice. It was called the Path of Light Tour. And we would go to places that were designed to hold these, they're really energetic portals to hold these energies. And one of the churches was the Basilica of Mary Magdalene in Vézelay. And near the summer solstice, there's a path of light that comes in through the windows and makes like a perfect path from the altar to the doors. And as you walk in the church and stand in the first path, the first light, spot, your root chakra gets activated and cleared. And as you progress through the lights, you can well, I can feel subtle energy. So I could feel my chakras getting this like tune up. And then as I went down into the crypt underneath, I definitely received some sort of initiation. Years ago, I became a Reiki master, and it felt like I was receiving an attunement. And my friend who was there with me said, I I had a premonition this was happening. Like, this is why you're on this tour for this attunement that you're getting. So I don't know what it was, but I know it was instrumental because soon after that, um, I started getting information about uh, Vita Anima. And you're going to create an organization called Vita Anima, and you're going to offer like some of these things. Um, and that's how it was born. And I've been doing that. I still do have some uh, work with former clients, but I'm doing less of that and more of the teaching and the community circles and things like that.
Wow, thanks for sharing all that. I just love the imagery. Um, just seems so what a beautiful path that you've walked thus far. And I would love to hear more about Vita Anima and what you're bringing out into the world through
Oh,
Vita
thank
Anima.
you.
Yeah.
Well, when I first started trying to kind of make sense of the information, my dear friend and fellow minister Miguel, who hopefully you'll meet on one of these podcasts, gave me something that he called a spirit identity study, where he asked me to fill out all of these questions about my purpose, my vision, who I wanted to serve. And through the process of doing that is where the name Vita Anima came from. And I asked, what is Vita Anima? And the words I was given at the time were the radiant essence and mystery of life. And I became, as I became more familiar and was listening to what wanted to come through and trying to put it into practice, I decided that Vita Anima is really the animating spirit behind all of creation, and it's the feminine aspect of the spirit. Um, I think of it as the Holy Spirit, but I think there's a lot of different ways because I've been shown that there is a version of Earth that already exists where we are already living in right relationship with each other and treating everyone as equals, including nature. And that as we increase our own ability and our own frequency to hold the vibration of love, we can step into that. It's already here and we can step into it. And that space was also called Vita Anima. So, I don't know what more can be revealed and probably will be revealed, but right now that's the space that I feel like I'm holding. And I just do my best to listen to what comes through and to offer it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie. And are there specific, I hear that you listen. You're got, it's one of those, you're not looking way out into the future, but just following what's right in front of you on your path. And I'm curious about, is there specific offerings that you offer through Vita Anima?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Because that's another really interesting aspect of my path. Some people have a destination that they know they want to get to, and so they're working towards that. I've been guided that I see like one step on my path at a time, and as I follow that, more is revealed. So I was originally guided to offer the Rites of Moonai Key, which is a series of initiations that I received from the Four Winds Society, and they received from wisdom keepers in the Andes and the Amazon and the coastal areas of Peru, a lineage that's been held for many, many years. And then I was guided to begin offering a course on the 13 moons as taught by Jose Arguelles. And I was introduced to that in the ministerial training program and began working with the 13 moon calendar every day. But then when the program ended, I was really prodded to, you can help people who are really beginners learn more about the 13 moons. And I was like, really? I can do that? So I've been doing that now. It'll be going on 3 years soon. And then I offer a course on, it's called Dialogues with Your Heart. It's really sort of an entry to remembering how to connect with the intelligence and wisdom of our hearts, because we all know how to do that when we're kids, right? We don't distinguish, we just live. And it's only when our parents or our school or our churches or a combination of those tell us like, those imaginary friends aren't real, that isn't real. In my case, I was talking to Jesus when I was very, very young, and when I told my parents, they were like, Jesus doesn't talk directly to us. And so they took they took me to church, and the minister there was like, well, I've never baptized someone as young as 7, but I think she's ready for it, and we just need to make sure she's not communicating with really trying to communicate, because something bad could happen. And so this fear of that was introduced, and I sort of shut it down. But it came back to me through, you mentioned heart coherence and working with the Heart Math Institute. I started working with the Heart Math Institute and learning to go into my heart and achieve coherence and settle my mind. And then I learned to talk, or remembered, I should say, how to speak directly with my heart. And then that sort of became a portal for clairvoyance and clairaudience. And I apprenticed with someone and learned to teach those courses too. So, Dialogues with Your Heart is more of an introduction for people who want to remember how to access the wisdom of their heart. Stop just tapping into our brains, which go through like loops and ruminations and what ifs and scenarios, where our hearts just give us like steadfast, grounded advice. And when we learn to live from our hearts, I feel like our whole lives change. So that's what I've been doing most recently. And yeah, I'm ready for a pause too. So unless I get more messages that there's something else I really need to do this year, I kind of want to keep focusing on that and offering the free 21-day gratitude journey that we offer as well.
Wow, that's so cool. And I love that. You're like, did you say take a pause? Because I was like, devotion in motion, heart centered pathways for transformative times. And that's exactly what we're helping, birth into the world. So thank you for sharing all that. I just love all your offerings, and the center focus of the heart is really, really, really beautiful and important.
No, thank you. And I'm
Yeah.
reflecting that back to you because you've been my guide on the side.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. Cool.
So, can you think of anything else that we want to share with people?
Well, I would love to share, let's see, just a little bit more about this actual podcast that we're doing. And, we are just so excited about it. Stephanie came to me not too long ago with this idea. She didn't mention this, but she volunteers at the Center for Sacred Studies in several big ways. And we're just so grateful to have her
Oh,
there.
wow.
And during one of these meetings, she was like, what do you think of this podcast? And I just lit up inside. My heart was a yes immediately. And I was like, I want to be a part of this. This sounds really, really awesome. So our community is, you learn through our first few episodes around Kayamari and how it was birthed and how then CSS came into being. You're going to hear all about the stories, and we're going to go deeper into the offerings. But one of the most the essence of all this is community, and we have such a beautiful community of all different kinds of people on all different walks in their life, and really practicing devoted to presencing their authenticity, and they do this in lots of different ways and different walks in the world. So that was our one of our intentions, is to be able to highlight all these amazing beings, and just ask them about what's working for them during these times, and how do they stay grounded and present, and what are their offers like in the world. So yeah, that's a big aspect of this podcast.
That was what sort of um, made me want to do this because the community is huge and so diverse. Um, as you mentioned, we have a core set of beliefs and principles, but it's non-denominational.
Hmm.
So you'll meet people in this podcast with all different practices, all different belief systems, and some may be brand new to you, some may resonate with you right away. Um, they're just they're just fabulous people who have done fabulous things over their lives, and I'm really
Hmm.
excited to share them with you.
Hmm. Yay, yes. And this is really, I feel like community is obviously medicine for these times, but also collaboration. And it's so important to be able to work together in this unified field and really get to share in resources and teachings and things like that. So,
Yeah, I love the
yeah.
way you said that. We're really diverse threads in the
Mm-hmm.
fabric of the weaving, but
Mm-hmm.
together it's a amazing tapestry.
Yes, yes. And we're so, as you heard a little bit about Center for Sacred Studies and Vita Anima, we're really nature based, earth based. We do our best to follow the cycles, being a rhythm with the seasons, learning and growing along this path as well. So we are going to be, we're going to be, what's it called? Releasing the podcast twice a month on the new moon and the full moon. So that's when you can kind of, follow us on the different platforms and know that when those times are coming throughout the month, that's when we'll have new episodes landing.
Yeah, it's so exciting. We can't wait for you to learn more.
Yes. Thank you for so much for being here. Anything else, Stephanie? Are we good?
I feel like we've given them a good taste of who we are and why we're doing this, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll learn more about us as we
Mhm.
go.
Yes, agreed. All right. Well, we'll see ya. We'll see you all soon.
Thank you for listening. We created Devotion in Motion to build a field of care and support for people during these transformative times. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, like, and share it with your community or someone you care about.
By doing so, you're helping us grow this field of support and keep our collective devotion in motion. Let's keep staying present in motion together.